Hi everybody, Jennifer Schaus here. We're coming to you live today from Washington, DC, and thanks for joining us in our webinar Wednesday series. In 2023, this year, we are covering the top 40 contractors at the federal level, and we're just going sequentially through the contractors. Okay, today's webinar and all of our webinars are complimentary and recorded. You can find those on our website, or you could just easily hop over to our YouTube channel where you can find over 600 webinars that we've put on over the years. They're all, again, complimentary. If you're looking just for the slides, either from today or any of the other 600 webinars that we've done, you can find them on slideshare.net. I believe you can log in there with your LinkedIn account, and it's also complimentary. A quick blurb about us. We are based in downtown Washington, DC, and we work with established federal contractors. Some of our services include contract vehicles such as the GSA schedule and other services that you see here listed on the screen. We also put on a variety of events, webinars, and conferences throughout the year. If you want more information, sign up for our newsletter, which you can get to from our website. Okay, in the event that you are interested in selling your services to federal contractors, again, our newsletter subscriber list is 25,000 plus. We've got over 25,000 followers on LinkedIn, and our newsletter goes out every Monday where there are advertising opportunities. If you want more information about that, just send us an email to the hello@jenniferschaus.com email address. Okay. We simply want to thank our friends over at GovEvents, and they are the premier platform for posting events related to government and government contracting. You can find all of our webinars and all of our events on govevents.com, as well as recordings from our past 600 webinars. We also want to thank Tom Johnson and his team at Set Aside Alert. They are the go-to publication for contracting opportunities for small, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, and 8A firms. Visit setasidealert.com for more information. The Fairfax Economic Development Authority has an online calendar of events and webinars, and we want to thank them for posting our events and webinars on their calendar. GovSpend FedMine. The contracting data in the webinar series is provided by GovSpend and FedMine. The GovSpend FedMine vision is to be the leading trusted source of data, analytics, and insight for organizations buying and selling in the public sector. The FedMine federal solution integrates data from 18 federal data sources and sets and creates a single convenient database that places the key data points at your fingertips. GovSpend began as a spending and purchase order database specifically within the state, local, and education sector. Today, the database includes contract opportunities within thousands of entities at the federal, state, local, and education organizations. With the acquisition of FedMine in 2021, the combined GovSpend and FedMine solution empower teams to make smarter decisions. Thank you to GovSpend and FedMine for providing the data in the webinar series this year and in previous years. The Virginia PTAC. Virginia PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center at George Mason University, offers free one-on-one counseling to established government contracting firms in Virginia on federal, state, and local procurement topics. If you're interested in learning more, please use the links provided to explore services, review homework recommendations, register for live training, and find useful links to agencies and other self-directed learning. Online resources and group trainings are free with no restriction on business location. One-on-one counseling is limited to eligible client companies. Okay, Gov Academy. The Government Contracting Academy is the government contracting industry's leading training provider for small businesses. They offer a comprehensive 25-course, 150-plus lessons training program for government contracting small business executives. The program also includes hundreds of business tools and processes, marketing templates, and sample proposal sections that will accelerate your company's success. They also have an ISO Quick Cert program, provides an easy, fast, and affordable path to ISO certification. Okay, the Reston Chamber has their annual Business to Government Matchmaking Conference on May 4th. This will be in Reston, Virginia. The link that you see on the screen, the novab2g.restonchamber.org, will take you right to that event. It's a great event. We've participated in the past and highly encourage you to review sponsorship opportunities as well as simply attending. Bid speed. Do you want help winning government contracts? Bid speed helps and you win. Opportunities from every federal, state, local, and public source in the United States. Need to find a teaming partner, incumbent point of contact, expiring contracts, etc. What about a compliance matrix or proposal templates? Want a solution to win with your GSA schedule? Maybe an easier or better way? If you said yes, log in at bidspeed.com. They are also, Bidspeed is an official partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration's 7J Management and Technical Assistance Program. Get started today at bidspeed.com. The Federal Business Council. Events are the ultimate engagement channel to bring government and industry together. 68% of government personnel report that they attend more than one event each year. FBC has worked with government and industry for 45 plus years to create gatherings where ideas are shared and to help government achieve its goals. This includes agency industry days, cybersecurity symposiums, technology expos, and off-site meetings. FBC provides full lifecycle meeting planning and event management. With over 5,000 meetings under their belt, FBC has the experience, systems, and personnel to make your next event exceptional. You can learn more at fbcinc.com. Okay, so we want to again thank all of our sponsors, because without them, the series would not be complimentary to you. So again, we encourage you to visit their websites and learn more about their services. Okay, now about our series and the schedule. Again, today's session, as are all of our webinars, complimentary and recorded. The quickest way to get the recording from today or any previous recordings is simply by subscribing to our YouTube channel. It doesn't cost you anything but 3 seconds of your time. If you're looking for the PowerPoint, it is over on the slideshare.net site. This is our schedule and kind of where we are. So we're on number 8 today on Leidos. The series runs on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock. We do skip over the week of 4th of July, and we'll conclude the series on Wednesday, November 15th with GlaxoSmithKline. Okay, we're assuming that most of the people attending are small businesses and are interested in subcontracting opportunities with these larger businesses. So we just wanted to bring your attention to some webinars that we've done around subcontracting that can be helpful to you. And it doesn't cost you anything, again, but your time. We covered all parts of the FAR in 2020. So the FAR part 44 covers subcontracting policies and procedures. That link takes you to our YouTube channel where we've got a nice webinar on subcontracting and the rules around them. If you're looking at any of the defense contracts where you would potentially be a subcontractor, we encourage you to go to the DFARS, same number, part 44, again, the subcontracting policies and procedures. Okay, other complimentary webinars that we've covered on subcontracting. We kicked off the series in 2023 with about a 3-hour-long webinar on subcontracting with the primes, and we did covered 6 sections, as you can see here, with various guest speakers. So feel free to hop over to that, also on our YouTube channel. Last year, we covered subcontracting within all of the federal departments. So we've got 15 webinars there that go through each of the departments and the various opportunities that you can pursue. And then in general, we've got some tactical and strategic webinars on subcontracting, 34 in total. And that's on our website, just under the webinar section. If you scroll down to teaming subcontracting, it covers everything from joint ventures to mentor protege to subcontracting and other ways to work with other companies in federal contracting. Excuse me. Okay, some best practices for the small businesses out there. If you are, in fact, proceeding down the subcontracting avenue, first, you want to define what you do and do it well. You can't be all things to all people. So again, define what you do, whatever your primary NAICS and PSC codes are and your keywords are, make sure that that is what you are known for in your industry. You want to also not just look for every opportunity and respond to it just because it falls within your NAICS code or it's physically close to where your business is located. You want to make sure that you are actually adding value. So do you have a relationship with somebody on the other side and you've been in that relationship around this solicitation for the last 18 to 24 months? Are you bringing a lower price to perhaps the prime, and that makes you more attractive? Or do you have a superior or unique skill set or capability that is written into the statement of work that will help your proposal response kind of shine and allow your firm or the joint entity, the subcontracting and prime companies to be selected? You also want to make sure that you're doing your homework and that you've looked at all of the possible partners / competitors using all of the complementary databases that are out there, sam.gov to FPDS, USA Spending. We've mentioned plenty of the paid data aggregators out there as well, who are sponsors here in our networking in our webinar series. So feel free to work with them as well. Again, do your homework, everything from using the public sector sites like sam.gov to simple Google alerts for news. You want to make sure that you know what's happening within these companies that affects their business. Some of them are reliant upon federal contracting, others are more diversified. So make sure that you know everything about these companies. What associations do they belong to? Are they speaking at any events? Have they purchased any companies recently? Are they is the company breaking up into three different, maybe they've got 3 different divisions, and so they're kind of spinning off companies. So make sure that you know at a high level things that are happening that will potentially impact the work that you could be doing with them. If you have done that homework, make sure that your capability statement is customized around the actual opportunity, not around federal government, not around the department, not around the agency, more specific than that, around the opportunity, around the solicitation, and tie that into the company that you want to work with, whether it's Leidos or somebody else. Once you have kind of gotten this far, you also want to make sure that you've registered on their website as a small business. That's the first thing that they will ask you. So make sure that you've completed that in advance of calling them and saving them some trouble. It's going to show that you are interested, that you've done your homework, and that you are being proactive. Make sure you're signed up for their newsletter. You know what events they're attending, again, associations they belong to, events where they might be speaking. Connect with them on LinkedIn, whether you're going after their program managers for specific opportunities or the small business liaison officers who are there to more or less help small businesses and advocate for them within the company. Again, if you're just contacting the SBLOs and saying, what can you do for me? You're going to blend in with the thousands of other companies. So again, make sure that you are presenting an opportunity to them where you add value and show that you've done your homework. Okay, today we're covering Leidos and just some basic information, which in the event that you're pursuing them, you should know this information already. You should have spent some time on their website, which is pretty clear. I think it's always helpful if they are in fact publicly traded to take a look at their stock price, particularly going back to 2020 and see how the pandemic affected them or not. Did they win business? You know, is there a big dip in their price? And that will tell you a little bit about their business and any work potentially that they're doing with the federal government on related to, you know, during the pandemic, obviously related to healthcare and those type of services. So you don't need to memorize this. You don't need to be a broker. You don't need to have a license, but just be cognizant of where their stock price has been and just some general information about them. Okay, the small business registration is pretty easy to find on their website under the suppliers section. And so again, make sure that you have registered there before you contact them. Okay, we have included their UEI from their SAM profile. They are physically based in Ruston, although the company was formed in 1969 out of California. Southern California. They are incorporated in Delaware primarily for tax reasons. As you'll see, many companies are incorporated there. Okay, their LinkedIn information shows they've got 30,000 employees. If you just go to a basic Google search, it's going to show closer to 45,000 employees. So just know that they're a decent sized company, and keep an eye on kind of what they're doing. We did a search here for their subcontracts managers. Again, the subcontracts managers are going to be more of the contract administrators dealing with the paperwork and compliance versus someone who is the SBLO, the Small Business Liaison Officer, who is more or less your advocate within the company. Okay, now we're going to look at the prime contracts. We're going to look at civilian versus defense. On the civilian side, we've got HH, and this is in this chart, thankfully, is in monetary order. So we start at the top, HHS, it grew and then dropped in 2021. DOT grew and dropped in 2022. DHS followed the trend with DOT, grew and dropped in 2022. Overall, if we kind of take a summary look here at the bottom, so the sector totals, it looks like things peaked at 3.1 million in fiscal year 2021. I think this shows, oops, sorry. We didn't go back to 2018, but and fiscal year 2023 is in progress. So there's still time for some of these numbers to improve. And again, you may just want to make some deductions here on HHS that they did see a decent size growth from fiscal year 19 to 2020, perhaps because of the pandemic. You'd have to investigate those specific contracts in more detail. These are just high-level overviews. So even though business peaked in overall for civilian, peaked at fiscal year 2021 at 3.1, if you look at the year before and the year after, the fiscal year before and the fiscal year after, it's not a major change for them if we're looking just at percentages. We'll see what happens in fiscal year 2023 based on the fact that we're halfway through the year and they've got about 800, but there could be contracts that are going to pop over the next 6 months that could lead to these numbers coming closer to the fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2019 averages. Okay, on the defense side, we have some data here as well to look at. So DoD, if we just look at Department of Defense, which is the second row there, that is the headquarters, and your biggest numbers there are fiscal year 2020, perhaps related to the pandemic, but again, it would behoove you to look at those contracts in greater detail to really understand what is happening. If you look at the Army, you've got some fluctuation there. On the U.S. Air Force side, obviously it looks like things are starting to grow there. It should be interesting again to see what happens for the rest of this fiscal year. And keep in mind that DoD always has delayed reporting, so that's not a true 6-month number for the 129,019,952 number. So again, just keep those things in mind. Where are we here? And then if you look at their totals, so the sector totals, obviously your largest dollars are coming in fiscal year 2022. So last year, a little bit of a growth from 2021, and things obviously look pretty steady in that department. Again, keep in mind these are 6 month, or I'm sorry, I think it's 3 to 6 month delayed for DoD reporting. So fiscal year 2023 is not a true number. And these numbers are obviously higher than what we saw on the civilian side. Now we're going to look at the independent agencies where Leidos is plugged in and has contracts. GSA appears to be steady. NASA appears to be growing. So keep those things in mind. Some fluctuation, but nothing major there on the GSA side, but NASA appears to be growing fairly significantly over the years. So again, you probably want to investigate by doing some searches on SAM or whoever your data provider is for doing research at the federal level. Social Security Administration is also growing. Again, these aren't huge numbers, but something just to be cognizant of. Everyone else here, as far as the other independent agencies, appear to be steady. Fiscal year 2022 at the 1.3 million appears to be where things have peaked. And those look like pretty good numbers. Again, we'll see what happens with fiscal year 2023. For top 5 NAICS codes, the North American Industry Classification System appears to be the computer system design services in 2022, so last year, as well as R&D last year, but it was pretty steady for 2020 and 2021, which perhaps, again, is due to the pandemic because it's based on physical engineering and life sciences. So keep these things in mind. The next slide kind of shows these in a more preferred format, at least for me. So as we look at these in greater detail, the computer systems peaks at 2022, fiscal year 2022. R&D is peaking in 2020 and engineering in 2021. Again, not great fluctuations, but there's a kind of your top pieces to look at versus the computer facilities management or other computer related services. And these are just the top 5 NAICS codes. So it doesn't mean these are the only NAICS codes that Leidos is playing in. They're going to have other services that they are providing. So we just, again, are focused on the highlights here. And as you can see, their revenue is growing significantly. So if you just look at the grand totals, these are the sectors that make up the bulk of their business. So they go from 3.9 to 4.1, 4.9 to 6.1 to almost 7 million last fiscal year. So again, just keep those in mind. Again, that they are not the only, but they are the top areas where the business is performing. Okay, now we're going to look at the subcontracting requirements. So subcontracting requirements come into play when there are contracts valued at $750,000 or more. So on the civilian side, what we have here, again, is, I'm trying to remember if these are, HHS, again, is at the top, just like we saw in the earlier slides, Department of Transportation, DHS, and DOJ. Your peak there is fiscal year 2021 at 2.8. Not a big dip in from last year down to 2.6, but still you probably just want to make a note of kind of where the dips were. On the defense side, again, some contracting requirements, you're going to see the peak there at 2.5 million in 2022. But appears to be growing over the years. Again, these are delayed reporting, so we'll see what happens for 2023. And contracts with the subcontracting requirement with the independent agencies. GSA kind of takes the cake here and kind of peaks in 2020, as we saw in the earlier slide. So that is kind of a mirror image of that. National Science Foundation, NASA, and SSA also have a decent amount of dollars there. A little bit of a dip in 2021, but then things kind of get back up to 2022 and 2020 appear to be fairly similar as totals, but not within the various independent agencies. So kind of hedge your bets there and do your homework based on kind of where the dollars are flowing. It can also be wise maybe not to follow where everybody else is going because you're going to have more competition. So if there is one of these independent agencies that perhaps is kind of steady but maybe losing a little bit of money each fiscal year, and perhaps you have a relationship or a superior skill set or something, maybe that might be an area to concentrate on, just so that to kind of reduce the amount of competition that's out there. Okay, and then these are the subcontracts that Leidos has awarded based on the agency where the work is. So DoD, and that should be no surprise because simply based on their budget as well as what we saw in the earlier slides. So DoD headquarters, and then Air Force, which also mirrors what we saw on the other slides, and Army and Navy. And this is everybody lumped together, so defense, civilian, and independent agencies, where you'll see that GSA kind of comes in there fairly high, again, above Justice and Homeland Security, which are part of the civilian. NSF still has a decent amount there. So I think you can make some deductions here. Okay, now we're going to look at the industry, and this goes kind of back to the NAICS codes that we talked about before. So you've got the computer system design services, as well as the computer facilities management, and then we've got two in there for R&D. One is the 541-715 and the 541-712. Those seem to do pretty well, especially during COVID, as we saw in the earlier graph that was similar to this. Okay, and we will look at the contracts that subcontractors to Leidos. And there's nothing wrong with being a tier 3 or 4 subcontractor to these companies. And there's nothing that prevents a business from awarding a subcontract to a large business. So you'll probably see some names here that you recognize, including Accenture, BAE, Carasoft, and then probably some of the others may be familiar as well. Here would make sense to kind of dig in further on perhaps all of these, to kind of cross-reference what agencies and departments these subcontracts are coming in at. And again, Accenture will probably present the most opportunities just because of the dollar amount. But again, everybody's probably going there. So maybe you want to look at Holland Square Group, which is getting about, 18.3 million from in subcontracts from Leidos. And again, it would be worth some research in sam.gov to find out what these companies do, what prime contracts they hold, where are they subcontractors, where can you work with them, where are you adding value. So a lot of this will take additional research and work, which again, you can do on your own on the various public websites, or if you're using BidSpeed or FedMine or any of the other companies out there, you can certainly do your research there. The column on the fourth from the right will tell you the company that received the contract, and then the dollar amount is in the last column. And these are coming up for recompete. So you've got BAE holding an Air Force, Leidos holding an Air Force contract, BAE is the sub, providing engineering services, there's the dollar amount. And it was just recently awarded at the end of the last fiscal year. So it looks like they do get some decent dollars there in Q4. So a lot of, I think, what we were looking at in the previous slides on the fiscal year 2023, those numbers will certainly jump just based on some of the dates here that I'm seeing. The Cerner Corporation, that's with DHA. Obviously, you can see the NAICS code there, and that's a decent sized contract as well, as are all of these others. Sienna Government Solutions there at the bottom, and Accenture, both publicly traded companies, and perhaps some tier 3 or 4 subcontracting work that is potentially available to you if in fact you've got relationships and something that you're bringing to the table that is valuable. We thought it would be helpful to also include the top GWACs for Leidos, top 5. So they could hold more than these top 5. But these are the top ones based on dollar amounts, and these are in the billions. So the NASA SOUP contract, Alliant 2, Seaport, which is the Navy contract, Oasis is GSA, CIO SP3, and then the T4NG. Next Gen is a Veterans Affairs contract for computer and IT services. So many people always think that GSA is the only contract vehicle out there. GSA schedules can be used across all of government. However, NASA contract is going to be specific to contracts at NASA. Seaport is for the Navy, T4NG is for the VA. So again, keep these in mind, and these are just the top 5. So I'm sure there are other contract vehicles that that Leidos holds, but most of this information is going to be public, including the prices. So if you're looking at, let's see, the Alliant 2, you will be able to decipher what Leidos prices are for their services. You probably want to do this homework, not probably, you should do this homework before you contact them, because if your prices are double theirs, then they're probably not somebody that you want to be a sub to, because they're going to dictate a price to you that's going to be lower than probably a published rate, because they need to make margin, they need to make profit. So if you're not willing to accept a rate that's lower than what you see on any of their contract vehicles, then they're probably not a good spot for you to be knocking on their door, unless you're just banking on the out years of a multi-year contract and getting some margin there. But I don't know that that's exactly a wise strategy. Okay, and these are more detail on the DUACs, the contract vehicles. And so, yeah, you can kind of make some deductions there and use this data as you wish. It looks like in fiscal year 2022, so last year, they did about $1 million in those top 5 contract vehicles, which is more than what happened in 2021. What's happening now as far as expiring contracts that are 750 and above, and that 750 number again is important because that's the threshold at where contracts need to be subcontracted out. So we've got a lot of their subsidiaries listed here and contract numbers. What I think is really nice that our friends at FedMine GovSpend did is also include the number of transactions. So if you have one of these contracts where there's, let's say, 16 contract actions versus 113, it's going to tell you that the 16 contract actions are going to have they're going to be fewer transactions, but more likely than not larger dollar values. Where there's 113 transactions, yes, more transactions, but the dollar value of those may be less than when you're looking at the 16. So keep that in mind as you're pursuing these as well, and do some homework by just simple copy and paste on the contract number to get more details to see if this is an area where you have a play to make. So some conclusions. Company, like I said earlier, was founded in 1969 in the La Jolla area, so Southern Cal. They obviously have, I think, fairly diverse contracts. They're not too heavy in defense. I feel like it's if you add the civilian and independent agencies together and you hold that up against the defense, it actually leans a little bit more than on the civilian independent side if you do the math versus defense. But defense as a standalone against the other two is obviously their largest, simply because of the nature of defense budgets, but it's not towering, which I kind of like as far as just pursuing them if you were a subcontractor and just for overall company stability. The defense contracts do peak in 2022, delayed reporting in 2023, so just keep an eye on that. As I mentioned a couple times, their R&D work did seem to kind of take off during the pandemic, and the contracts that they have with GSA, Alliant, Oasis seem pretty steady, and those contract vehicle dollars do seem to be growing. Some headlines that we pulled here, looks like they're working with the Milken Institute, and maybe there's some grant or contract money that came from HHS for that. They've got a recent article from just a couple days ago, I think it was the end of last week, on the DoD Cloud Exchange. Probably worth listening to, especially if you are trying to work with Leidos on some DoD contracts, just to simply be cognizant of what's happening. And last but not least, in the bottom right-hand corner, it looks like their CEO is retiring. Not that you need to know everything about him, but you probably want to be up on current events if you are going to have conversation with them, as well as just, stock prices, when are they in the news, just some general talking points to show that you have done your homework, that you are an intelligent and sophisticated contractor that understands the big picture, but then is also very focused on a specific opportunity, a specific solicitation where you want to work with them. Okay, and I believe that that wraps it up for today. Again, today's recording will be on our YouTube channel, as well as SlideShare. You can grab the PowerPoint that should be up, let's say, within the next couple hours. This is our schedule. Again, today was Leidos, and we're going to end on number 40 on November 15th, which is also a Wednesday. These are all Wednesdays. The only Wednesday we skip is the week of 4th of July. And that wraps it up for us. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week. Thank you.